and welcome to the Moose Hunt Podcast. I'm your host, Rob Fickett, and today we got Cody McDonald back, and we got someone new to the podcast, new to the team, actually. He was with us for one season, Mr. Jake Beland, I'm assuming is how it's pronounced.
That's right.
Awesome. So how you guys doing today?
Good.
Great.
Enjoying the weather.
Yeah. Nice another rainy weekend. I think we're like 5 or 6 weekends in a row here. Just stupid rain. It's Memorial Weekend here, so we're all just hanging out. Yeah, we've already been talking for 23 minutes, so we probably should have started this 23 minutes ago. But yeah, let's just it's springtime. Everybody's kind of getting out of the cabin fever thing. We're getting into stuff. Spring turkey's just about over. So we figured we'd dive into that. I think we all did some turkey hunting this year, so we might as well. You tried filming yours this year too, didn't you?
Yeah, I had the zoom lens I was telling you earlier, and I was like, well, I don't know if I want to really film it. I'll just start playing with this new camera. So I was on 55, which was the lowest setting on this lens, and the turkeys were like 5 yards away. So they flew. I'd been watching them, a couple nice birds, and then the night before the season, they were like walking over to where they always roost. So I went and set up on them, and they hit the ground, and like 5 minutes later, they were right on top of me. And I thought about moving the camera to get a better shot, and I said, well, screw it. And I shot one, and then the other one ran right in front of the camera, and I looked up, and it was right in the lens looking around. So then I shot that one, so that was pretty quick. And then, let's see, the next day I brought my brother and buddy out, and we had 5 jakes come into the decoys, and they couldn't take it any longer, so then they shot 4 jakes.
Wow, so you doubled up, and then your friends both doubled up.
Yeah,
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, 5 jakes, they shot 4. I got that on film, but I was kind of tucked in the brush and didn't have a good line of sight, so I'll put that video out. It's not the best. I kind of mixed and matched. And then I had some friends from out of state come in, and Tuesday, it was a crappy day, but we shot 3. We had a setup at the same place. We shot 4 jakes. 5 came in, and they shot 4. Then that next week, I brought the guys at the same place, and we had a gobbler get pushed off by the jakes, and 4 more jakes came in, all in the same exact same place. And then we spotted some birds that were out. It was just 2 toms, 4 jakes, and some hens. There was no way to like make a play, so they just tucked behind the fanned out decoy and belly crawled up there.
Reaped them.
and I was watching like from the road, just watching, and all of a sudden I just saw all 6, both gobblers and jakes just sprint at them. So they shot those 2 toms, and then we were working a big hardwood ridge in the woods, which was nice, wide open. And midday we struck a tom, just set up, and I put that video out, which that was really cool when he came down through the woods gobbling, strutting, and they shot him. And it was tough conditions, so it was a pretty good day, but I didn't realize that there's 2 different types of headphone jacks, cords, which I know now, so I got no audio from any of those hunts. So, and I haven't been since. I've just been remodeling the house, so the fun's kind of out of that.
Yeah, I did. I helped guide with Dana for another one of our friends, Lance Robinson. They have some Georgia guys that come up, and there's some straight up turkey killers. So it's like not even really guiding. You're kind of just driving them around.
Right.
And being
They just
like,
need to know where to go.
This is where we've seen birds, or like, kind of like how we do with moose. Like we'll just drive around and be like, there's one in this field right now. Like go kill him, stuff like that. And so, I mean, we decimated them. We shot 6 in like, I think it was 14 hours of hunting total or something
exactly.
like that.
It
was pretty fun. That was pretty cool. But, I guess that's my story. Did you do any?
Me and one of my good buddies from college, it's kind of become a tradition over the last couple of years where, we both went to Unity College. And he lives down in southern Maine now, and but he still likes to come up and hunt the Unity area. He's got a lot of landowners there he's kept a relationship with over the years, so it's worked out where he comes up and he sleeps on my couch, and then we both go turkey hunting on opening day out to his spots out there. And opening day, the night Sunday night, the night before, we went around, driving around, scouting and stuff, trying to roost stuff, see what we could see. And the only place we could find any birds, there was like 7 jakes, all and we watched them roost and couldn't, we tried to roost some other stuff and didn't see any toms or hear any toms. Like, well, I guess we're setting up on these jakes in the morning. And we had to get there real early because like anywhere we could set up, we were within 150 yards of them, like within sight of them, basically. So we got there like 0 dark 30 and like no headlamps, like set up in the wood line, and trying to sit as still as we could for like an hour and a half before shooting time. Just things starting to cramp up, and we were kind of near a road, so like, oh, there's a car coming, and wait for the car coming. You stretch your leg out because it's cramping, and another car come back, and you just move your leg back, just trying to cover our sound and movements. And then about 10 minutes after legal time, they all flew down, and I gave a couple of yelps, and in they come, and we planned for my friend to shoot first because I don't know about you guys, but the whole 1, 2, 3 shoot at the same time thing.
Bad idea.
90% of the time it doesn't work. It ends up being a cluster. So I said, you shoot first and then I'll follow up. And so they were within 10 yards. We had the decoys close. We had these 6, 7 jakes within 10 yards of us for like a couple minutes. But like they were just in such a clump that neither of us could shoot it. We'd take out all of them. So finally they kind of start to separate. My friend shoots. He takes out 2 with 1 shot. And then like,
that's awesome.
Yeah, and he did it on purpose too. He was waiting for 2 to line up perfectly, but not 6. So he took out 2. And then as they were kind of scattering, I picked out a solo one and I dropped one. And you're like, well, he's like, you have time to go back to work if you want. I'm like, no, I'm not going back to work. Let's go find another turkey. So we drove to another spot, and what do you know? There's 6 or 7 more jakes all in strut. So I was like, I don't think it's
This is gonna be easy.
I don't think there's an adult tom left in the Unity area or whatever. But hey, I don't discriminate. I just like eating turkey. So we skirted around the edge of the field on the other side, stuck the decoy out. I gave a couple yelps. You hear 7 little gobbles, and then again, just they move. Jakes, they all like move as a unit. This is a clump. So just this clump of jakes all come in. And again, it's like if I'd shot, I would end up taking out 5 at once. So they're all at the decoy and they're kind of pecking at it. And finally they start to like catch some movement or something. They start to putt and move away, but still is like one unit. I'm just like, have my bead on. I'm just waiting for one to separate. Like, am I really not going to get a shot? And finally one separated and I dropped it. So within 2 hours on opening day, we had like 12, 14 jakes within 10 yards of us, and we both tagged out, and that was my season.
Nice. That's awesome.
I wanted to get out more this spring, but every single Saturday it rains, and don't really want to get wet for a bird. So
turkey's not
plus,
worth it.
I mean, I can't shoot anymore either, so just be whoever I would want to go with me.
Yeah, everybody gets tagged out so fast. It's like you're going down through your contact list.
Like, who wants to go
with an
turkey
open
hunting?
tag. It's one of those things where it's like, for me, I don't really care that much about hunting them, but it's such a stress-free thing, and you can do it with your friends.
Oh, it's
so
fun.
It's easy to get out, and it's easy to find birds and get involved with birds and stuff. Like if it gets like it is in the South, I'll probably retire. I say that now, but you can't hunt anything else, so I'll probably still be after them. But
it scratches that itch in the springtime.
It does.
Sure.
When
It's a long time till hunting season, so until the fall hunting season.
When you get guys from out of state who hunt turkeys, in the South or the Midwest.
It's a way of life down there.
They're like, trying to be so cautious and stuff, and it's like, you really don't have to worry about it. And then if you mess one up, we'll just go find another one. It's like...
You might even work in the same spot. So this is, okay, I guess from the helping with Dana. The last morning, we were trying to get the last guy tagged out. And so they went to this one spot, and that 2 toms had already been shot at the day before. In this like small woodlot. And so 2 toms were taken out the day before in that spot. They went back there because we knew there was more toms in that area. Went back there Tuesday morning, set up, took a shot at one, missed it. So there was 2 toms coming in, they missed one. And so then where I was spotting and stuff, I saw a tom come in and he was gobbling his head off. So they came over to where I was. Didn't work because it was jakes in the area and they pushed him out. And so they were like, well, and then I checked my camera, the app, and I was like, oh, there's a tom on the camera at the woodlot. And it was like where they had just missed that earlier that morning. So 2 hours later, there's another tom on camera in front of that. And they went in and killed him. And it was like, they took 2 out of there the day before, missed one that morning, went back 2 hours later and killed a different tom in that same spot. And it's like, what the heck?
Well, I'm sure we'll get to this point too, but it's like in a lot of places that get hunted hard, those toms that gobble like crazy, they end up getting killed. So then I think it kind of is more of a genetic thing, right? And they eliminate those toms that gobble.
Yeah.
So then it gets tougher, right? Because the birds that are living are the ones who are only gobbling on the roost. But we don't have that problem, not now at least. And also, I think we have just such a number of them that they're just not as hard to hunt. So like a friend of mine from Pennsylvania taught me this. If it works really well in the fall when you've got those young birds.
Yeah.
If you can't get close to them, just run at them and break them up.
Scatter the group.
And then just sit
them
down and start yelping, and they all come back in.
Yeah.
But you can do the same thing with a tom and some hens. You know, if he's locked with those hens and they're like his, and you can bust them up so the hens, separate from him. A lot of times, you might have to move because the hens are trying to get back to him, but he's also trying to get to them.
Yeah.
So that's kind of fun. But after seeing how it works, hiding behind the decoy, fanned out decoy, I might start doing that.
Yeah, that's what these guys have. They just it's just a tom decoy with a real fan in the back.
Yeah.
And they just hold it up in front of them and walk right at them, essentially.
I'm probably not going to do that in the woods where maybe there could be someone else hunting, but out in an open field,
Good point there, too.
Yeah, because I usually just go roost them and set up on top of them, and then they fly down.
Yeah.
And I probably wouldn't be able to kill a turkey in another state, but that's what I do here. But after seeing that with the decoys, like, that's fun. When you see those gobblers just sprinting at you, that's pretty fun.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how that works, actually. So I guess another story. One of the birds that they shot on Monday, it was in a field right on the side of like Route 4.
Yep.
In Auburn area. So it's right on the side. There was probably like 150 yards up on this grassy knoll. And so we called them. We're like, hey, there's a tom there. Like, you could probably come in through the back of the woods that way. And so they're working on him. They're coming in. And they keep texting me. They're like, is he still in the field? Still in the field. So I'm just driving back and forth on the road. Be like, yep, he's still in, but he's moving closer to the road. Okay, now he's like 50 yards off the edge of the road. I don't think this is going to happen. And then I get a text message is like, no, he's not. And it's a picture of the bird in the woods. And I was like, how did that just happen in like 2 minutes? And they were like, we just let out some calls, held the decoy up in the wood line, and he sprinted right at us.
It's
Broke
crazy.
the wood line, and bam. And I was like, dude, that was like 2 minutes.
Yeah, if you're not hunting turkeys right now, you're probably going to kick yourself because this is like the golden days of turkey hunting. Like when the moose hunt first started, or, when the deer population was crazy and you took it for granted, like that's probably where we're at. 20 years from now, we're going to be talking about the golden days of turkey hunting.
Well, the way things are in the South right now, they're talking about the declining populations and stuff. Like, we're behind them, so like it's coming. It's going to be here eventually. But I heard an interesting thing about it though from some biologists, because they're saying that like, people are like worried about the declining turkey populations, as people should be, but at the same time, it's like there was an unnatural amount of turkeys.
Yeah.
It's like because there weren't any, they started to come back and their population just exploded.
Yeah,
and
now we're starting moving north too.
Yeah, and now we're starting to see them like kind of like the declining populations are kind of like they're going to settle out to like what the carrying capacity should be. So, I mean, not that people shouldn't be concerned. There are other factors that should be taken care of to take care of our turkey populations, but I'm not super worried about it.
Not right now.
There's still plenty.
Each year, they're still talking about taking more and more and more and more birds because I think, just like any population, when you get too many and the density is too thick, then you get disease.
Yeah.
And the disease for us and our turkeys is probably the biggest threat. I would imagine. I don't know. I'm not a biologist, but that's what I would think. So I would like definitely urge people to if you can, take your 2 birds in the spring. And I know you can kill up to 5 depending on where you are in the fall, but not that many people I don't think are turkey hunting in the fall. I know I'm not really. Yeah. So it's one of those things where it's a balancing act. Like the hunting would probably be, if possible, even better if the season was a little earlier before any birds get bred. Yeah. But at the same time, it's a fine line because the population is probably so good because the majority of hens are getting bred
before
the season opens.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just I can't imagine the hunting getting any better, but it could certainly get worse. So with all the data there is on turkeys, we ought to trust whatever the biologists are telling us.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah, I could see it getting worse sooner than the population with like posting land and stuff.
Oh yeah. It's definitely.
I think that's more of a threat than the population decline.
Definitely, yeah. And you see these turkeys like moving into neighborhoods,
Oh yeah.
And those
some of the
getting
birds
taken.
that we shot had bird seed in there. You're gutting them.
Yeah, they fly off the roost.
And like, geez, these things were just at a feeder a minute ago.
They fly off the roost and head right to the houses because springtime everyone puts their bird feeders out, and then obviously that's the easiest food for them, high quality food. So how many times you drive through town and there's just like a pile of gobblers under a bird feeder. It's like, well, obviously, pretty easy food for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully we can just sustain this population and keep on hunting them because it's a good way to get through the spring. That's for sure.
Yeah, it definitely helps break off the cobwebs.
Especially down here, because you could just, you can just grab your gun and go out, right behind your house or a few minutes away, and you go to shed hunt or something, and we don't live up north, so it's. That's like a few day event, and you may not have that luxury, but you get out before work and chase some turkeys around.
That's a great way to get the kids in the woods too.
I think
it is
that's
such
the best
an easy
thing.
hunt. Like it's a great way for them to get into it.
Yeah, you throw up a pop up, and we don't have a minimum hunting age now, so whenever the kid's ready, and I think that's probably the best thing to start kids on.
Yeah.
And also, we may have different opinions on this. I think we talked a little bit before. I don't see turkeys as being the smartest animal in the woods, but they do have incredible eyesight, and you can get away with like a deer a lot more than you can get away with a turkey, right? And they'll look for like a few seconds if they see something and they take off. So I think it's a good way for kids to learn like
to be still in the woods.
To be still, and then you can get so many contacts. It's getting better with deer, but like when we were younger and the deer population was really low, how are you going to get good at hunting deer if you're not like having encounters all the time?
Yeah, or how are you even going to really enjoy it?
Right, and get a kid and interested, but they're not seeing any deer. Yeah. But turkeys, you can let them see, and you can see turkeys so much. You can ride around and scout, which is a fun thing. I take my kid out. He's not in the woods yet, but he likes to sit in his car seat and look at turkeys for a short period of time.
Yeah, and they're pretty vocal, so it's like it's interactive.
That's fun. Yeah. That's really fun. Yeah, when they're gobbling and coming in, a deer is so silent, but when you can hear something coming to you, but you can't see him yet, or and when they're strutting and spitting and interacting with the decoys, I think that's the best part about it.
Yeah, kind of like moose hunting.
Kind of.
I have a hard time to draw that.
Yeah, I know.
But yes, yeah. No, you're calling, you're interacting.
The interaction with the vocalizations and stuff,
right,
is similar.
And I think it's a good place to learn because you gotta be in a position to set yourself up for success with a turkey like you do a moose, right? Yep. If you're just calling to this moose and he's coming, but you aren't set up to get a shot at him, and then you get into the point where now you're going to bust him if you do try to get in that position. So you can definitely teach yourself a lot of lessons where that turkey may be coming to you, but when he gets to you, do you have a chance?
Yeah, are you ready? Do you have, I've always been told, like, before you start calling or anything, like, have a spot picked out where you're going to go.
I was just thinking that's actually a very good point because I rarely ever, sometimes when you're running and gunning turkeys, you're making a call, trying to hear one, whatever, and you can get caught your pants down. But most of the time, you're kind of making a setup. You're setting a decoy, you're getting like your face mask on and getting a moose. A lot of times, you're just kind of walking and calling, and like how many times that happened to you? All of a sudden, it's right here, right now. So that is an interesting point to like have a plan before you start calling for moose. So a bit more like turkey, have a setup instead of just kind of getting caught.
Yeah, I know a lot of times when I'm like, if you're not necessarily walking through the woods in hunting, but you're like, you're working a road or whatever, I'll always, wherever I stop and call is always like behind something, whether it's like behind some alder bushes or some spruces or something. So it's always like, well, I'm going to call like this direction. So we're setting
Right.
up this way. So if he does come in, then we can either like work around what we're standing on, or like, well, sometimes it happens. You're just like standing in the middle of like wide open, and you let one out, and then you're like, uh-oh.
Yeah, and then as soon as you make that noise, he knows exactly where
you are. Yeah.
So that could get a little sporty. Or if you've just been going and calling and nothing's happening and you get lackadaisical, but he's been hearing you and he's coming and he just didn't want to make a noise until he was right on top of you.
Yeah.
And now you're like, uh-oh,
Yeah.
what am I going to do now? And you have clients with you, you have people with you, so.
They're not ready. They're just like, they're sitting there, they got a sandwich in their mouth and guns like 10 feet away.
Yeah, right.
No,
Yup.
it's crazy how quiet they can be when they want to be, and how loud they can be when they want to be. Like,
Oh, yeah. And they're still collecting data and they're still aware, even though they're being so loud coming to you. They can still hear you a lot of the time.
Well, I know, like we've said this quite a few times. I think that like they're not on a timeline. They have all the time in the world. So like they could have already moved into you, but they're like, I'm going to sit here and eat for 10 minutes before I fully come in. And you're like, well, there's nothing here, and I'm going to make all this racket. We're going to start talking, and all of a sudden you just hear, and he's gone. You're like, ah. Oh,
Definitely, especially in like October.
Yeah.
Nate and I were talking about that last week. Like
They were almost, at least my experience, they were silent this last October.
that's what and I think they were coming in and still checking stuff out, but they'd already fought and they weren't looking to fight, so they weren't being, that testosterone level had started to drop, so they weren't losing their minds. So you have to be more patient, which doesn't really fit into my
No,
style
not at all.
The October season is always a toss-up of like what the calling action is going to be. You know, I mean, individual moose, or I mean, you can still find a very hot bull in October, but my experience for the most part, it's really not a high percentage game, the calling in October.
Yeah.
It depends on the year.
Gotta
It
find
depends
the
on the
feed.
year and the conditions. And like I said, moose to moose, you'll find different things. But
A lot easier to spook them off.
Oh yeah.
If you're too aggressive in October, it can really bury you.
Yeah.
Jake, why don't you fill us in on your hunt, dude?
Yeah, tell us your history and everything.
I haven't heard anything. I don't know much about it.
I mean, you want me to start just with the hunt?
Start wherever you feel like. This is your pony.
So this past season was my first season with OMM. I've had my guide's license since 2020, and
nice! You've had it for 5 years. That's cool.
Yep, I actually submitting my first renewal.
Yeah, sweet.
So I mean, I guided for another outfitter previously, and unfortunately, the owner there passed away. So I was looking for a new place to go, and friends of Ben Pride, who
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
so we're guiding for OMM for a few seasons. So I talked to him, and he had nothing but good things to say about OMM, whatever. So he gave me Kenny's contact, and then next thing you know, I was signed on to come in, and I was going to be a helper last fall.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I'd never been in Zone 3 before. I'd done hunts in Zone 1 and 2, 12, but never been in 3.
Yeah.
So I came up. Luckily, I came up a few days early because I wanted to drive around and like learn the road. So if somebody called and said I had a moose down, like I know where to go.
Yeah.
It was like my second day of scouting, and Adam Jondro texts me. He's like, hey Jake, we need to have a meeting. And I was like, okay. He's like, yeah, come meet me over at this spot at noon. Okay. But I kept scouting until then, and actually ended up running into Tommy, and he was driving. I didn't think it was Tommy at first because he was driving Nate's truck because he smashed his on a moose that morning driving, so he was driving Nate's truck. And he goes, hey, have you talked to Kenny yet? And I'm like, no, why is everybody looking for me? He's like, you're guiding now. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, all right. He's like, yeah, I need to call Kenny as soon as possible. I'm like, all right. So finally I met up with Adam, and we both called Kenny, and the situation was one of the guides, he had a family emergency, was going to make it. So I was guiding now. As Kenny asked me, like, how do you feel, about this? Like, hey, I know how to moose hunt. I know how to, guide and handle clients. I'm very comfortable with that. Done it plenty of times before. I don't really know where I'm going here, though.
Yeah,
so,
because you were out to the sporting camps.
Yes.
Yeah, in September. Yeah.
Yeah. So Adam, I mean, all you guys in camp. I hunted with Rob this fall too. He was in camp, and like all you guys, I needed everybody's help, and couldn't have done without anybody. But Adam really like took me under his wing, and like he set me up in the area that he was planning on hunting and scouting, and because he knew the area, he has his own camp there and stuff. So he went off on his own. He's like, "Oh, I have other spots." He's like, "You hunt this spot, which is the camp loop."
Yeah.
And so he took me in there, and we scouted it and checked the cameras and stuff, and that was it. I was guiding. So first morning, it was just me and a solo client, and there was no subcommittee or anything. And first morning, my plan was to hunt that whole loop.
Yeah.
Adam had said before that whole loop's probably 3 miles from one end to the other. And Adam had said, like, oh, people tend to like hunt up this side and then they'll come and hunt the other side. I'm like, anybody hunted the whole loop? And he's like, I don't know if they have. I'm like, why not? We'll spend the whole day in there hunting one end to the other. And we're going to have one of the helpers pick us up on the other side at the end of the day. And well, I figured out that the reason nobody's hunted the whole loop before is because there's a big giant beaver bog right in the middle of it. And boy, was that was fun to get around. But but no, it was a good day. Saw lots of sign. We had an encounter with a cow. We had her real close. She came in like the mossy ground behind us.
Yeah. Snuck right up on you.
Oh yeah. Like she's barely making. Like I said about how quiet they can be for how big an animal they are, but it's just real soft, mossy ground in there. And I just heard a little rustle, and I turn around, and 40 yards is a cow looking at us. Like, oh. But it was good to break the ice for my client too, because it was his first moose hunt, whatever. So, I had a good close encounter with a moose, and like he practiced. He got it in the scope on his shooting sticks and stuff. Talked about like if you were to shoot it, where you'd shoot it and stuff. And then that also on that first morning. So coming out on the other side at the end of shooting time. A helper was waiting there for us, and I noticed like as we were walking up, he was kind of hiding behind the Jeep. Yeah. And he like comes out from behind the Jeep, and he goes, "Was that you?" I'm like, "Was what me?" He goes, "That raking." I'm like, "What raking?" And he goes, "Oh, that wasn't you then." he's like, I was hiding. He's like, I thought you were working a bull, so I got out of sight. And I'm like, "That was a bull then." It wasn't me. Apparently, there was a bull within hearing of the Jeep raking there. So I'm like, oh, well, tomorrow morning we're going to start on this side then. That's the end of the loop. So we had no action there. The next morning, we hunted down to the beaver bog and then turned around, came out. And then from there we went to the bottom side of the loop. And it's like 10 o'clock in the morning. I let loose one cow call. And there's some long stretches in there. You can see a long ways in parts of that. We're in one of those parts you could see 500 yards. Yeah. And I just see this kind of like dark spot. You see them all the time, dark spot. It's like a spruce bough or something, but the dark spot just kind of like moves off the side of the trail. So I get my binoculars up, and like from around the bend is just this like little spindly 6-point bull, but he is drooling and his bell is swinging and he's running down the trail. So I grab my client, like move him off the side of the trail. Like, there's a moose coming right now. And it ran right up to us, and like I got a full like 3-minute video of like this bull like looking at us, drooling. You can hear me and my client having a conversation about like, you can shoot it if you want, it's your call. And he's like, it looks a lot like an elk. I've already shot an elk because I had no palmation. I'm like, no, that's your call, it's fine. And, it would have been chip shot right there, but no, he decided to pass it. But it was a really cool encounter, and I got us all excited. And then we get down the trail, and there's a game camera there at a corner. And I knew, from checking the cameras before, there was a couple of good bulls in there.
Yeah, there was a really nice
There was a really nice one who'd been on camera most nights in the past week. Yeah. I get to that in nights, not in the daytime much.
Gotta love it.
I get to that camera, I check it, and the shooting time is like 6 that morning. 6:08 is on that camera. Yeah. But we were on the other end of the loop. Oh. So if we'd started down below that morning, probably would have run out into. But I didn't want to, like, we were on such a high from that encounter and stuff. This is 10 minutes later. I didn't want to kill the high, so I didn't tell my client anything last night. I'm like, no, nothing last night. Just didn't want to kill that vibe, you know.
That's why sometimes I hate checking cameras with clients because it's like,
is there
anything good? And you're like, nah, nothing good, but there's been
No, so in that case, there was something good, but I didn't want to tell them that, like, because, you know, like I said, we were so happy from that encounter of that little bull. I didn't want to immediately kill the vibe by saying, like, oh, we missed out on the big bull or whatever, but let's see. Wednesday, went back to the loop. That's a common theme, just hunting the loop.
Yeah, hey man, what are we doing today? Same thing.
Yeah, same thing but different.
Don't leave moose to find moose.
And we had another encounter with a cow and a calf. You know, they poked their head out to look at us while we were calling and stuff. Changed it up a little bit that afternoon though, just change of scenery. We went and hunted over that. Adam had told me about the spot, I think the divergence up there, up the road, they called it. We went in there, and it's funny because, you know, that camp loop, it's all spruce bog and stuff. And so we get out over there in the divergence, and there's some hardwoods and a bit of a ridge, and my client goes, wow, there is. He's like,
you can
see some stuff here. You know, I was like, oh, look at the foliage. Like I said, it's just good change up, change of scenery and stuff. So Wednesday, I mean, that was pretty uneventful. Thursday it rained, and that rain really actually that week, that September week, I think that was what kicked it off, because there's a lot of people who really hadn't had many encounters or really hadn't.
Yeah, I mean, even in camp with us,
except for you.
I had every moose in the state of Maine in September.
Yeah,
but like Dylan Stevens and Bryce, they hadn't seen or heard a bull until Friday morning and Saturday.
Saturday, yeah. And I think Thursday, that rain Thursday is really what.
Yeah.
That change that the moose needed.
Yeah.
But so during that day, Thursday, in the rain, I was like, you know, instead of walking this loop in the rain, we hunted it in the morning for a couple hours before the rain started. But it's like, you know what, like, instead of, you know, walking around in the rain, like, just get in the truck and drive. Like I said, change the scenery again, just see some new country, stay dry, you know. Stay dry in the truck, and just, you know, you never know when you run into a moose in the truck, but also just see some new spots and, you know, try to stay dry. We got out of the truck and called at a couple spots when, you know, the rain let up and stuff. But like I said, there was that big bull I've been playing cat and mouse with, where, you know, he'd zig and we'd zag. And eventually I meet up with Adam later that day, and he's like, where you been? And I was like, oh, just driving around. He's like, been trying to get a hold of you. I didn't realize I'd turned my radio down during lunch.
I've done that.
We were like, well, we were talking, and there was a lot of chatter on the radio, so I turned it down. I forgot to turn it back up. Apparently, they'd been trying to get a hold of me on the radio for a couple hours, because one of the Bear Crew guys at like noontime, at like where the camp loop meets the camp road, that bull we've been looking for, standing in the middle of the road at like noon.
That's how it goes.
So
that's how it goes with the radio too.
Yeah. So it's like, of course he was, you know. But, you know, Adam had already tagged out and stuff. So for Friday morning, we planned to do a dual call thing where we got over there at the camp loop, because that bull had crossed the road over towards the lake, and there's only so much woods there.
Yeah, it's really not that big of a span of woods.
Yeah, like he can't go far unless he's going to swim.
Yeah.
So we were talking about, he's like, well, he's probably going to cross back to the other side at some point, and he's probably going to be pretty handy there in the morning.
Yeah.
So the plan was, Adam was going to walk up the trail about 20 minutes before us, and he was going to spray some cow urine as he went. And once he got up a couple hundred yards ahead of us, he was going to start cow calling.
Yeah.
And then me and my client were going to come up the trail being the bull. Like, I sprayed bull urine all over my scapula.
Yeah.
And I know I was going to be the bull responding to it and grunting up the trail to it. Well, and also Adam had asked me, like, he's like, where do you usually start calling? And I was like, oh, I usually get up the trail a couple hundred yards from the truck and start calling. Yeah. You know, get around the first bend from the truck. And he goes, start calling right at the truck.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, this bull's close. So, you know, shooting time comes. I start grunting and spraying and get up the trail. And, like, we weren't 100 yards from the truck. And from, like, right next to us in the alders, just, whoa.
Nice.
And then we both look, and, you know, a lot of times you hear that first one, you're like, is it a bull?
Oh, yeah. You're questioning yourself.
And you hear, whoa, again, and stuff breaking, and it's like, yep. and I mean, it was close. It was within 50 yards of us.
Yeah.
So, I mean, whenever I can get the client in front of me, so I'm looking over his shoulder. I'm basically looking down his barrel too, because this times you're off to one side or the other, your angle changes a little bit. You can see it, they can't, they can, you can't. So I get him, so I'm looking right over his shoulder, and there's this wall of alders, and it's like you just hear it crashing and smashing and grunting, but you still can't see it because it's so thick, and couldn't be more than 30 yards at this point, and it kind of stopped, and I just raked the tree in front of me one more time, and it just separated the alders and came out broadside. And it wasn't the big bull we've been after. And my client initially, a lot of people, when they beginning of the week, you ask them what their expectations are. Oh, I want a big bull.
Yeah.
This was Friday.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'll shoot anything. That's the way it goes at that point. I'm like, well, here he is. So he shot, and it ran right out onto the trail. And he heart shot it on the first shot. When we were cleaning it out later, quarter it and stuff, I went to take the heart out, separated some ribs, take the heart out, and I had my knife in my hand to cut the heart off, but I grabbed it, pulled it, and the heart came out.
It just clipped the top of it.
It wasn't
perfect.
like the heart itself was fine. It just cut that whole aorta and stuff right
that's
out.
awesome.
All right. But so it came right out in the trail, and it kind of stumbled like it was gonna fall, but you know what? He's got another shell in the chamber, and the moose still in his face. So shoot it again. So he shot, and it dropped right there in the trail, and we hollered and screamed, and client.
John just strolled down.
Adam hadn't even got to the spot he's gonna start calling.
Oh no!
He was still
awesome.
he was still walking to the spot where he was planning to stop and start calling when he heard pow woo.
Hit the gap.
No, and it was awesome. I mean, it was a very cool bull because it had. I mean, it didn't. As far as racks go, it wasn't like a particularly impressive rack, but it was unique because it had kind of a small palm on one side, and then the other it had this kind of chicken foot type rack coming off, and it was real small bodied. So our first thought was it was a younger bull, but then once we got to working on it, I was starting to look at it, and it's had a lot of gray on the face, had a lot of old scars, had split ear, it had a fresh still bloody wound on its cheek, pussy wound. It's that thing was a scrapper. And then we got to the bases were huge and
baseball bats.
I mean not the base, but the the burl. Yeah. The rack itself, it was kind of spindly, but had huge gnarly
pedicles.
Yeah. Yeah. So we never thought to look at the teeth, but Adam and I, because it wasn't until later that night we're that might have just been a real old bull that was kind of going downhill. Yeah. And then the age report came out this year, and it was an 11.5-year-old bull.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That's
bull. He was an old, and
it was just Kenny had found his sheds.
Well, yeah, we met up with Kenny, later in the week, and was telling him about it, showed him the picture, and he goes, "Wait a minute," and he was scrolled through his phone, and he goes, "Yeah, I found that bull's sheds
5 years ago."
And it looked just like that side that had the palm, except he had both sides at that point.
He just never had anything crazy.
No, and that's just the way it goes with some bulls. Is they just don't have the genetics, or they're going to grow that.
So you didn't shoot a big bull, but it was still a mature bull.
No, it was a mature bull.
He was at the end of his life. It was a
mature bull, and it was my idea of an ideal moose hunt of that close, coming in close, kind of shooting it in self-defense. No, and my client, like I said, it'd be, he'd said he wanted, a big bull or whatever, but he whooped and hollered and shed a tear. He was all pumped, and it's so much of it's about the experience. Than the picturesque, trophy rack.
And that's the awesome thing about actually going later in the week. Yeah. To finally shoot your bull, because you get that whole week's experience of moose hunting.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, what else can you ask for? He's old. He's a warrior. He has a unique rack. Right? I like weird racks. So that's awesome.
For my own what I want out of a moose hunt, I'd rather shoot that moose every year like that than the 60-incher just standing in a cut as you're driving by on the first morning. Yeah. Oh, there it is. Shoot it. It's just so
still gonna shoot it.
Oh yeah,
but
you're still gonna shoot it.
I'm not gonna enjoy it.
You don't pass that. It's just a way cooler story than the one that comes crashing 100%. Through the brush.
Yeah, you worked. You had a plan. The plan worked out. It takes some some more skill and experience, and then you learn so much more from a bull like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he's 11 and a half years old, right? He's been doing it 365 since he was born.
Yeah.
So he's smart.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And my client actually named him Bushwhacker because
coming
he whacking
through
the
the
bush,
bush,
and
yeah.
then like he said all the scars and character on him and
That's
stuff.
awesome.
He got him. Troy was mounting him for him, so that's gonna
Oh
be
sweet.
it's gonna be
Nice.
cool.
Yeah. You know what kind of mount he was doing?
I don't know for sure.
That'd be cool if it was like a pedestal mount coming through the alders.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. That'd be
Yeah,
cool.
and then we were so close to camp that obviously I had Adam there to start helping me, and then your client was
Mike.
He was bear hunting. Well, he went out. He wasn't bear hunting, but he was out. He wasn't hunting, but he was out with
the bear guys.
With
yeah.
the bear guy.
Yeah.
He was awesome because he was just like, I love it. He just wanted to keep doing things. As they heard we had a moose down, they came in.
Yeah.
And your client got right down there, started helping us quarter it.
Yeah.
There's
yeah,
nothing
no,
better than when you get a
Mike
moose
was
down
awesome.
and everybody
He
shows
loved
up.
it, and it was cool to have that. Like so we're right next to camp. So Adam went back to get some stuff at camp. Right on a boombox, and so we're playing music, and like he brought out a thermos of coffee, and we had like a party around. It was awesome.
And the four
That's
wheel.
great.
And the four-wheeler.
Yeah, you
we
brought
didn't
the
have to pack
four-wheeler
it on
out, you guys threw it in the trailer.
Yeah. Didn't even have to pack it on our back.
That's awesome.
I showed up to be a helper that week, and I didn't put a single quarter in my back all week. Well, because I was either hunting when other moose were down, or then when Bryce's client shot his moose on Saturday.
We were already done.
Because my client he did a combo hunt, so we were bear hunting.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And by the time I got over there, I heard you guys had a moose down. By the time I got there, it was already in the truck. So
yeah.
That was a nice bull too.
oh, that thing was awesome.
I think that we all met up. That's where we
Yeah.
got that.
Yeah, we
that's
met
what
up
that-
on Beaver Brook.
yeah.
There's a picture of everybody just
Yeah.
on the freaking back of the truck. That was
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the fun thing about getting one on Saturday.
Everybody's there.
Everybody's there. Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty fun. Yeah, so you also did a cow hunt with a friend
Yes.
this past year
Yep.
too, right?
Yeah. So at the previous outfitter that I worked for, this friend was like my hookup there.
Yeah.
His friend was the one who had bought the outfitter and stuff. So like he bridged the gap between us. Like he had a friend who bought the camp.
Yeah.
He had a friend as a guide. That's how we met up. And then my friend, he's not a guide, but he always came during the seasons to like help and stuff. And like he's one of those guys who gets drawn every other year. Or it seems like, I mean, he's had like 3 tags at this point, and he got drawn again for a cow tag in that's over in zone 1 there. And so we went and stayed at the old. It was Allagash Sporting Camps when I guided there,
Yeah.
and then Jake and Lisa Feener bought it, and it's like Maine Heritage.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm forgetting. That's a Maine Heritage Outfitters something. I'm forgetting the name, but so anyways, we went and we booked a cabin there and stayed there, and it's like we knew those knew those woods very well and stuff because we ran bear baits there, knew all the roads, knew where moose were and stuff, and my friend, this being his 3rd tag, he decided to. His brother is a sub-permittee, so he was going to let his brother be the shooter. And opening morning, we had some fresh snow. Like
cow season was awesome this year,
awesome.
dude.
And so we walked up into the first cut, and like there weren't any moose in the cut, but there were tracks crossing the road.
Yeah.
And they were kind of like, they weren't big enough to be like a giant bull, so it's kind of a toss-up. It's like, could be a cow, could be a small bull, but how many opportunities do you have to track a moose?
Moose will lead you to moose too.
So my friend and his brother, they got on the track, and then there was the road down below this cut was a big horseshoe, and the direction they were going is like, well, if you're gonna push it, like it's gonna cross this road in the horseshoe somewhere.
Yeah.
So my friend and his girlfriend, who was along for the trip, we just like drove that horseshoe around, looking for like either tracks. Like, I mean, first of all, if we saw, because we know there were 2 tracks like headed that direction from the cut up top. If I got down below and saw 2 tracks crossing the road, then I could radio them and be like,
Cut some
they're
time.
they're not in the cut.
Yeah.
But we drove that whole loop and there were no tracks coming out.
So he's in.
So
She's
it's
in
like,
there.
They're in there. And no, so they didn't end up seeing a cow if there was a cow, but they ended up running into a bull. They said I had a cool encounter with a bull.
Yeah.
And, the tracks they're following ended up coming back from where we started basically and like went to the woods on the other side. So And at that point, the tracks had crisscrossed so much, it was impossible. Like, they didn't want to go through the effort of like potentially tracking the same bull again when you can't shoot a bull or whatever. So at that point, we broke and had lunch. Went out, check out some other areas. Then that evening, we went over to another spot. And my friend, all day, he'd just been jokingly doing like, oh, look, there's a moose.
Ah, yeah.
Oh, look, there's a moose. Like the guy who yells flag when there's no flag. Yeah. But, just like, oh, look, nothing. Like stuff like that. Yeah. So we turn this corner, and I'm looking out my window. He's in the passenger seat, and he goes, oh, moose. And I don't even slow down. I don't even look because it's the boy who cried wolf, right? He's been doing it all day. And he goes, no, Jake, seriously, a moose. So I turn and look, and like 25 yards off the side of the road is a cow looking at us. So I put on the brakes, and it's just like, cows a lot of times, those cow hunts, like they haven't really been messed with like bulls, so they're not as wary. Yeah. So they give you time to get out of the truck and load your gun and all that stuff. But like this one, it's right here off the side of the road, 25, 30 yards. And it's like, I don't know how this is going to go. Like, just go slow. So friend's brother opens the door, slow. Yeah. Cow's just staring at us. He puts the shell in. He gets aimed on it, and it's looking right at us. So I'm telling him to shoot it like, right under the chin and the bell. Those frontal shots, a lot of people try to shoot it in the chest, but they go way lower than they think they need to, and they end up brisketing and stuff. So I'm like, it's 25 yards, you're on a rest, like put it right under its chin. Yeah. So he's like getting on it, and then like I heard the safety come off, and like he must have been in the middle of his trigger squeeze, and it like whirls to like run. It's had enough finally, like whirls to start to run away. So I say, shoot it in the chest. Yeah. And he just like, as it's whirling, dropped and shot, and it went out of sight. Yeah. And we're just kind of like, did he hit it? Where did he hit it? What's going on? But we thought we'd heard like a thud back in the woods. But we were pretty sure it had gone down. It's also, I can't see how you would have missed at that range. Yeah. But with it kind of turning, we weren't exactly sure what was going on. But we gave it a few minutes, and then walked up there, and 40 yards away, it was laying there, dead. It was, big mature cow, and turned out she actually had a bull calf with her, and it was like, that thing's gonna be a 1,200-pound bull someday.
That's a big
calf.
Like
it had that little like short calf nose, and it had like just like nubs for antlers, but its body was as big as that mature cow, and it was like a yearling bull.
Eating
great
good.
Big hump on him. We were like, holy cow, holy bull. No, but and I'd never quartered a moose until coming to OMM. Yeah. And then after doing it once, I was like, "Oh, this is the way to do every moose."
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
So like,
100%.
And my friend, they never. I mean, we were inside of the truck, 6 yards from the truck, but we'd already planned like, let's quarter. I'd convince him, let's quarter it, because like, you don't need to haul out the trailer and all this other junk. Especially, I mean, with it being so close to the truck, it was like you didn't have to.
You didn't need a pack frame.
No,
throw
just
it over your shoulder,
and threw it in the truck. Yeah. And and actually something I've come to appreciate about the quartering too is like with my client's bull this year. We noticed all the scars and and stuff going on. Mm-hmm. Because you're working over that whole thing, you're touching every square inch of it and flipping it over and touching every square inch of the other, so you're noticing those little things. So like with that cow, we were noticing like all of her scars and things going on, all the features. You're spending more time handling it and looking at it and stuff. You're a lot more of that harvest gets ingrained in your brain that way. I think. I mean, I've had stuff. I mean, I've got some dragon stories too, which like I'll remember forever.
Oh yeah,
that's its own kind of fun too. But like
you lose sight of it a lot. Like the animal's down, and then the work you got ahead of you, so you just kind of dive into it, and you don't really look them over and kind of appreciate all that kind of stuff, which all the character that each animal has. Yeah. So I agree. I think that's a good point.
And my friends, they have a blood tracking dog, like one of wire-haired dachshund. Oh yeah. So the rest of the they have their own little blood tracking business. Borderline blood trailing and recovery, if anybody's looking for them.
Nice plug.
Yeah.
They live down on the New Hampshire border, and they're licensed in New Hampshire and Maine. So.
Oh, that's cool.
Plenty of work.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So they brought their dog with them, and they'd let the local outfitters know, like, hey, we're here with a blood dog.
Yeah.
Like, once we have our moose down, like, let us know.
Yeah.
So it was the next day, Brandon Lane called and said, like, let's get that dog.
Hey.
He had a client hit a cow in the leg, and there was good blood, but like, I've been with them at tracks before, and those leg hit ones, like, you can get them if you can keep up on them fast enough. Going at your own, like, as fast as your eyes can follow the blood, like, you're never going to catch up to it. You got to go fast enough that like you're tiring it.
Yeah.
And like, because I mean, they're losing blood. You know, they're obviously, you know, like, they're wounded and stuff. Like, deer are more nimble than a moose too. Like, it's really hard to get a leg hit deer. But with the moose, they're, you know, a bigger animal. You know, it's like a racehorse that breaks a leg, like, it's done.
Yeah.
Moose are pretty similar too.
Yeah, they heat up faster, I think, and they get tired quicker.
Yeah. So Brandon, one of the clients, and then my friend and his girlfriend, with they went with the dog, and like going as fast as that little dog's like, and it's just, you know, wiener dog, and it's like.
And it's funny because those things can move through the woods.
You think you kind of. They're actually perfect for it too, because they can like.
Well, they're going under.
I mean,
they're
You're climbing over.
They're at the level of the scent too. Like, they're down there where the scent is, and like they can like snake through all this stuff. So like, they were going as fast. If the dog were bigger, he'd be dragging them through the woods. They're just going as fast as he could carry them, and then I was staying back with some of the other clients and my friend's brother there, and you know, talking to them, and all of a sudden you hear pow.
Yeah.
Oh, they got it. Pow, pow. All right. Get on the radio. Like,
you guys all right now?
You guys got it? And Brandon just like, got a little Western, but we got it. Apparently they got it right up to the edge of a bog. And Brandon figured that it was going to go across the bog. So he ran up to the bog's edge. And it turns out that cow had actually turned and started coming down the edge of the bog instead of crossing it. So like, by the time he met the bog, he met the moose. And it came crashing out of the brush at like 8 feet.
Yeah.
And he just had to let loose in self-defense pretty much. And like, he ended up putting it down and stuff. But then we had our pack frames there and stuff, helped them pack the moose out.
Oh, that's cool.
Now they ended up blood tracking another moose later in the week. Well, me and my friend's brother, we ended up butchering. We brought the quarters back to camp, and we're like planning on staying up there all week. So, you know, doing the blood trail and stuff, or doing some bird hunting and stuff. Like, oh, let's try. You know, we butchered deer before. It's like, weather's cool enough, and like, we got the time. We're gonna be here all week. And like, butcher the moose ourselves too. So, you know, every day we take a quarter and part it out, and I mean, we're just kind of parting things out. We had brought them back home to do the vacuum sealing and like grinding up the burger and stuff. But no, again, you know, everything we wanted to accomplish on that trip, like, we accomplished. My friend's brother, he lives out in Michigan. He grew up in Maine, obviously, but he'd been away for so many years. So, like, he'd never been on a moose hunt. He'd never even been that far north in Maine. He never shot a partridge. So, like, check. You know, added in the experience of like going along on that track and like packing the moose out and all that stuff. Like, it was just everything we wanted to accomplish on that trip, we accomplished. It was so stress-free. Because moose hunts can be stressful.
Oh, yeah. Especially if you're guiding.
It was so stress-free, and just like, whatever happens. We just wanted to, hey, whatever happens. Like, with a cow, you don't really have this expectation either of like, oh, we need this trophy cow. You know, I mean, you don't want to shoot it.
But that's a good point. Like, yeah, it was a cow hunt, but it was still an awesome hunt. It was a great experience. So,
absolutely.
Like, people that do select that they will accept a cow tag if they get drawn. Obviously, everybody wants to get a bull tag. Everybody wants to shoot a monster main trophy bull. But if you get a cow tag, you can still have an incredible
right.
And there's not that, like I said, there's not the expectations of like, oh, I want a 50-inch or better, or like, it's got to have these, it's got to have decent palms or something. It's like, is it a cow?
Yeah.
Shoot it.
Right.
I mean, you're looking to see, you don't want to shoot a calf if you can help it. I mean, they're legal, but, to each their own.
Yeah.
You got to look out for, I mean, I guess the stressful part about cow hunting is like, because really the tag says antlered or antlerless.
Yep. Hardened.
So-
The law reads
And
hardened antlers.
They changed it, right? Because it used to be like
Right.
below the
Yeah.
ears, I believe,
Yeah.
and now it's
Right.
like
Now
any
it's
antler.
Any hardened
which is
antler.
Yeah, so
tough.
I mean, they have reworded it, and like you said recently, because there have been some like button bulls shot
Yeah.
and stuff, and there's like some like gray area there, but they reworded the law. But I mean, it's still like there can be.
But sometimes it's hard to see
there
those.
can be
Even some bulls that just the spikes that come
they
out.
just line up with their ears.
They line up
It
with
looks
their
part
ears.
of their
Like I've
ears.
done it before. I've looked and looked and looked, and you're like, that's just a cow. And then it turns its head, and you're like, don't shoot, don't shoot, don't
Yes.
shoot.
So
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
that is the one stressful part about a cow hunt is just making sure that what you're about to pull the trigger on
Yeah.
is a cow.
Yeah.
But other than that, there's no expectations.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a great hunt for sure. And when they're in that thick woods and
Yeah.
it's easy to miss, a spike. And some of those bulls have very small spikes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or if they're dark antlered too, it blends
Yeah.
in. It's not that like golden color that sticks
Yeah.
out to you. Yeah.
If all you can see is like its head and its snout, and then like part of its body,
Yeah.
a shootable part, it's like ballsy.
Yeah.
It's
And
like-
You really need them.
Yeah.
You really need them to turn their head too.
Yeah.
'Cause You really just
Move it, yeah.
You kind of need to see it from two angles to make sure, like I said, like it's not lined up with the ear, or behind the ear, or like behind some brush or something.
Yeah.
Kind of need.
That's
a
just a
side
whole lot-
view and
yeah.
a front view to go. No antlers. No antlers.
It
Shoot
sounds easy until
Not.
everybody starts getting excited and
Yeah.
you've been looking for a moose. And
Yeah,
it's
you got a
there.
trigger happy client.
Oh.
You want to be telling yourself that in
Yeah.
your head the whole time.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't had any like situations like that yet, but you hear the stories every year of double kills or
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
or like
All the cows are bunched up together.
You think you're shooting a cow and you walk up and it's got a 30-inch rack that was behind the bushes, and so yeah, you're always going to be very careful about it's one of the rules of gun safety. Know your target.
Well, that's the same thing with like all hunting,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah. It's something you got to be prepared to deal with when you get
It's
excited.
just a bigger
Yeah,
no-no
yeah.
when it's a moose because
Yeah.
the state takes that very seriously.
Yeah,
So.
as they
As
should.
they should.
Yeah.
As they
Yeah,
should.
and what sucks is like like you said, it does happen. It happens every year, and a lot of people don't want to take accountability for that. So like I've come up on a moose before that had been
Oh, yeah.
shot, and just
yeah.
and it's like, well, you
And
got to
then it's
report it
just
to the game
wasted.
warden.
Yeah, just-
exactly. It's
just
because
do the
somebody
right
made the
thing.
mistake, shot it, and they're like, I don't want to get in trouble.
And
they
they do a
just
good
keep
job.
going.
People who made a mistake, they don't beat them up.
Yeah. If you're
Generally,
honest
from
about
what
stuff.
I've from
Yeah.
what
No,
I've heard.
I've heard stories of people who went and found a ward and say, I accidentally killed
Yeah.
two moose, and then they don't get off scot-free, but they get off as leniently,
Yep.
as lenient as possible.
Just just do the right thing.
Yeah.
It's not a big stain on their record. Let's just say that. But
Yeah.
the people
But
who
when you try to hide
the
it,
people who try to
or-
hide it
yeah.
and stuff, they
Yeah.
get the book
You're
thrown
gonna-
at them.
Yeah,
and
you-
it's a big buck. It's
a heavy
big,
buck,
hefty
it's a heavy buck,
fine
heavy
and jail
buck.
time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to justify that. Yeah,
Yeah.
just do the right thing and then just have a clean conscience.
Yeah. Yeah, sweet. Hey, sounds like you had an awesome moose season.
It's my favorite thing.
Yeah.
I mean, up until 10 years ago, I'd never been on a moose hunt, and now it's like I have to moose hunt
Yeah.
every year.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
a question. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
whether I'm guiding or not. I mean, someday I'd like my own tag eventually.
Yeah,
But,
yeah,
like-
me too. Yeah.
But if I was waiting on my own tag, I still would have never been on a moose hunt.
Yeah.
And you're getting better all the time, so when you do get your own tag,
Yes.
Right.
it helps your chance of
Yeah.
success go up greatly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, it's my favorite thing. Like if tomorrow the world changed and they said you have 1 week off a year, I would forego everything else and do that September moose hunt. That's what I'd say.
I mean,
time for.
that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
not. I took from September bull week till end of cow week. I'm not working this year. I told everybody else I'm not booking any jobs. That's it. That's
Yeah,
what I'm
yeah.
doing. And I was
Clear
like, you
the
know what? I'll
schedule.
work all deer season. I don't care, but I'm taking moose season off.
Yeah.
Yeah, clear the schedule.
No, but one way or another, I'll be moose hunting every year I can for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
It's my favorite thing.
Yeah, and I'm glad you came on the team this year, and I'm glad that we got to work together at the sporting camps because I actually took a play out of your book doing the same thing every day. That's how I did my cow season. And
Yeah.
it worked.
Well, that was something I learned from Dave. Dave Boucher was the owner of that previous outfit
Yeah.
I worked for who passed away. And Dave didn't have his guide license. The whole buying the outfitter thing fell into his lap.
Yeah.
It's funny because he called me up and after my friend connected us, it was like, And I just got my guide license a couple months before that. And he's like, hey, I'm looking for some guides. And I'm like, I mean, I'd love to. It's always been my dream. I'm like, just to be straight with you, like, I've never guided before. He goes, I've never owned a camp before. He goes, we'll figure it out. And he's one of those guys who did get drawn a lot. Like, he ended up getting the offer to buy that camp because, like, he'd been there for, like, 5 moose hunts. So he knew the camp, he knew the area and stuff. And, like, it was him who taught me, like we were saying, about hunting the same area. Like, he's like, if a spot is good and you know moose are there, he's like, keep hitting it. He's like, go call there in the morning, go hunt somewhere else. He's like, if you drive, he's like, his number one rule, I won't say the name of the spot, but he's like, you do not drive past that spot without stopping and looking or making a call. He's like, I don't care if you've been there 3 times. If your truck's going past it, pull in there. Yeah. And that first year I was guiding, it was probably our 7th, 8th time at that spot this week. Yeah. Just like, here we are again, Dave's spot. And I make a call, and like 43-inch bull steps out. And I'm flat. Like, where is this? But it's if it's a good spot and the sign is there and you know the moose are there, it's a matter of time till you run into one. Yeah.
There's so many spots that it's just so easy to just hop around spot after spot after spot.
Well, I mean, look how it happened to me when I was talking about my bull with my client this year. We left the camp loop. And I get where have you been? The moose was standing in the middle of the road because we were miles away.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, I'm not saying, there's exception to every rule. Obviously, like, there comes a point where it's like, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expect different results. Sometimes you just have to get out of there and go to a new spot. But at the same time, it's like, or with fishing, they say, don't leave fish to find fish.
Yeah.
It's the same principle.
Don't leave moose to find moose.
Yeah.
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 We're all guilty of it, though.
Oh, yeah.
Every year.
Like I said, I knew that and did it, and it almost bit me in the ass. But no, moose hunting, it's the best. It's the most stressful fun you can have.
Yeah.
But, like, there's nothing like it when it all comes together.
Yeah. I mean, even after it's, like you said, it comes together, and even after it's down. Just memories and the bonding and friendships you create just from packing out a moose.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy.
Yep.
So. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Well, awesome. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, appreciate it.
That was a good talk. Nothing else better to do on a nice rainy day. So.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, we'll leave it at that. You guys have a good Memorial Day weekend.
You as well.
All right. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for listening. Take care, and God bless.